Say you have a problem, think it might be all in your head. Talk with a counselor or maybe a psychic instead. Doesn't matter how you roll, when life has taken such a toll. Clenching fist along with your screams. I'm here to heal your mind and we are here to heal your soul. Time to follow your dreams. Side by side, side by side, by side, side 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 by side.
Hi, and welcome to Side by Side, a show where we use two different perspectives to achieve the same goal. I'm Sheena Metal. I'm a psychic medium and an energetic healer. With me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Dian Katz, who is a mental health educator. And together, we are hoping to help and heal people side by side. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? Good to see you.
Amen. How are you, Sheena? It is great to be back on the air.
I am
Yes.
loving it. I am back from my hiatus from life.
Yep.
And I'm glad that you have been so supportive and patient with me on my journey.
Yep. That's life. Life happens. So here we are again.
Here we are again.
I've been getting a lot of requests. So people are like, what happened to the show? What happened to the show? And I said, well, we had to take a little break.
Yes, Sheena needed a break. Our wonderful producer, Emery, was so eloquent with me. He said, you know what, sweetheart, you needed a break. And I think I did. I'm one of those people that pushes past everything. Like, sure, I have pneumonia. Sure, I've got a kidney stone. Sure, my best friend died in my house, but I'm just going to do 10 shows this week. And I think I just got to the point where I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I needed a break. And I'm in the middle of remodeling my home. And that's a very arduous process because you did that as well. As a matter of fact, I got my beautiful contractor, Pablo, through you. And, but it's a lot, right? You got to move everything out of the room. You got to figure out what goes back. And even after the contractors leave, there's 100 little things you still want done. And you have to order all the things and then the colors don't match and you have to send them back. And so I decided, since I had been through so much loss this year and I was kind of in a funky place, that it was a great time to focus on the house. So I still got stuff done.
Yeah. I did the same thing because I was losing my mother at the time. And you just sort of channel all your hurt, your grief, and into this beautiful, creative environment of changing your house. So,
yeah. And I think for both of us, because we both are in our childhood homes.
Yep.
That there's a lot of energy around tearing up all that stuff in your house.
Oh, yeah.
That you grew up in, and then really making it yours. My best friend used to tease me that the first however many years after my mom died, I still called this mom's house. And even after a year after I lived in it full time, I still called it mom's house. And one day, my best friend said to me, sweetheart, you really got to start calling it your house because it's your house now. And I felt almost like I was betraying my mom by calling it my house.
Yeah.
Like,
I get
not
that.
paying her respect. So now how I've paid her respect is we are remodeling this house, and it would have been exactly as she would have wanted it, which is also exactly what I want it. She would have walked through this house and been like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So,
I felt the same way. My brothers would always be saying, we're going to come over to mom and dad's house. And I'm like, well, that's kind of my house now. So
yeah.
And when they started saying Diane's house, after it got remodeled, of course, but when they started saying it was my house, I'm like, yeah, this feels completely different. So 'cause it was always mom and dad's house too,
Yeah. And it was a house I said I would never live in because it's on a very spiritual, it's on Indian burial ground. and it had a lot of some problems. My parents had kind of a tumultuous marriage, and um, they were both people who were going through a lot. My mother was sort of coming out as a psychic, and my father was very narcissistic and um, very negative. And I think they stirred up what was already here, and me being a young person stirred up what was already here. So I just, after having lived in a very negative, haunted place in Baltimore and then here, I didn't want to live in this house. And then I kind of moved back in to get it in shape to rent it or sell it or something.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with my mom's energy here and the memories of being here with her. And I decided to stay. And so now I like tell the house every day, when I love you, house. And I tell the house I love it before I go to bed. And I
Yeah.
know we weren't always friends, house, but I love you now. And I pulled up yesterday to my driveway thinking, this is a house that I thought I would never live in, and I love it so much. And life has all kinds of little surprises for you, right? That you don't know
Yes,
are there.
sure does. And you have to embrace the loss because both my parents have passed
Yeah. And my,
and I'm in their house,
mhm.
and that feeling of loss was with me for quite some time. And now that I have made this my house, I embrace the loss too. It's like I remember my parents being here, and it's just it's made it easier and almost beautiful to merge the 2 things, the loss and the beauty of having your own space.
I agree. And I think that happens with all loss, that it's uh, there's always a lesson in everything, and there's always a good that comes out of it, you know?
That is so true, and that's what we're talking about today, right?
It's
Loss?
loss. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's been a year of loss for me. And I don't know about you, but both of us have been public people since we were fetuses. And I don't I it's not easy for me to tell people when I'm hurting. Like, I feel like I always have to put this front on of
Yeah, yeah, I
everything's
get that.
great, raise your vibration, I'm here to heal the world, I love you. Like, I feel like I can't
Yeah.
ever just say, and I'm falling apart. But I think with me it was like bam, 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 all at once. So I, in the last year and a half, I have lost 6 people that were very close to me, including my best guy friend who was like my brother,
Mhm.
and really my favorite ex and my other favorite ex, both my exes that were my favorites, and one of my very best girlfriends, and a guy that was like my brother that got me through so much in my life, and his wife, who both died of cancer, 1-2 punch, and my 2 best friends that died just heart attacks, just found dead, and my ex that I loved, very fast moving cancer. So really in the last year and a half, and if you count my mother, I mean, she was 9 years ago, but still it goes on. I've
Yeah.
lost, like, 7 members of my inner circle. And I think I just sort of toughed up through all of them. And then when my beloved Paul was found dead in my home in the valley in January, I think just 2 weeks after my ex died, it's just too much. And I think I just kind of went, boo. And I knew that I had to get through this remodel because I had Pablo and the guys lined up. As it is, I had to move it a month because Paul had no end of life plans. He had nothing in place. He had, no one to take care of. I had to deal with the coroner's office and everything. And it that took literally a month of my life. And I still have to plan his celebration of life in the fall. And I think I just kind of like went into, like, like when you're taking care of an elderly parent, you
Yeah,
go into
yeah.
like this sort of like almost like a stasis mode where you're there and you're getting the stuff done that has to be done, but emotionally you're kind of shut off.
Oh, yeah, it's surreal. It is really surreal. Um, not only was I on my own island when I was taking care of my mom, I had people reaching out to me, but like yourself, I couldn't tell anybody that I was hurting.
Yeah.
I felt like, I was an imposter if I showed that side of me, because everybody looks up to me as an entertainer or an educator,
Yes.
and here I am, and I'm like falling apart. I was totally falling apart taking care of my mom. My mom didn't know I was falling apart, but
Yeah.
emotionally I felt like I was dying inside. So I know what it's like, what you're saying, and then the road back too, for yourself, probably because yours is a little more, you know, a little sooner than when mine was. But I've had a lot of people pass in the last 3 years, including
Yeah.
my parents, and the same thing, just so much loss. And then, you know, we're experiencing loss in the greater world too. All these
Yes.
things that are going on in the war in the Mideast, and all these things that are going on in our country. You know, people are experiencing loss left and right
Yeah.
because things aren't absolutely going the way you had hoped. You know, some people it is. Some
Things are
people it
not
is,
going as I had hoped. That is true.
but you know, there are plenty that are experiencing a loss and feeling like they're losing things. And then there are other people that are, you know, watching uh, the war elsewhere and feel like they're losing something too, because you're watching people, you know, die.
Yeah.
And it just feels like the whole world is upside down right now. You know, we get that in our own little world because of those close to us we lost. And then we have it on a greater scale. So for
Yeah.
you and I, and many people who've lost their inner circle people, uh, it just feels huge right now. And now we need to talk about, what do you do about it? You know,
Yeah.
I know you took time for yourself, and
I
that was
did.
excellent.
So
And I
rare
did
for me.
too.
I did.
I
Well,
did too.
because Paul died, it was so sudden
Yeah.
that everybody was, as people were finding out, they were coming to me, and everybody needed me to be strong for them. And so there was no time for me to grieve at all. And then
Right.
I, right from that into just barely getting everything sewn up with him, and then out of town while they remodeled the house. And I got back from being out of town. And normally when I'm out of town, I'm very social. I see a lot of people when I'm in Palm Springs. I really didn't. I went to Valerie Milano and Jennifer Corday's event that I go to every year, Desert Legends. But aside from that, I didn't really see any of my Palm Springs friends. And I got back here and I went to my best friends for dinner, which I do every night. But only one time did I see anybody the 5 weeks that I was in the motel. And then I came back here and there was so much to do. And I just kept moving sort of in robot mode, which I think sometimes is healing in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like with grief, because grief and loss are very similar.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes it's good to just keep moving, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. But then I suddenly got sort of in like a month or so, I got sick when I first got back to the house. And then about a month after, it's about mid-June, I started realizing something was not okay with me, because I just, I still see clients, and, obviously my clients are very intense. People only come to you when they're upset or hurt or something's going on with them. So I'm
Yeah.
also dealing with clients who need a lot of my love, and dealing with people who are grieving Paul's death that need a lot of my love. And I suddenly realized, like, I didn't want to go anywhere, and I didn't want to see anybody, and I didn't want to do anything except work on the house, which is very unlike me. So I decided that, sometimes I think when you're in a compromised state, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually, it's okay to just say, it's okay. I'm just going to take time for me. It's like one of those things where if I'd had a knee surgery and I knew I couldn't leave the house for 6 weeks, you wouldn't even question that. But when it's an
Right.
emotional thing, you beat yourself up for not wanting to leave the house for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, oh, something's wrong with me because I'm not doing everything I should be doing. Well, no, you need time to heal.
You
And you
do.
need to give yourself as much time as you need to heal, because a best friend who dies, like, that person's never going to die again. That's the one thing wrapping up that relationship. And I never really gave myself that time when my mother died. I went right back into work, and I worked and worked and worked and worked and worked. And I never gave myself that time. And I don't think I ever have given myself that time. And I think I hit a wall. You get to a point where your soul can only take so much. And so you have to
Absolutely.
heal.
Yeah, grief is a very individual thing. Everybody deals with it differently.
Yeah,
There's no right or wrong. If you need to disappear for a while, as long as you communicate that to other people.
sure. Yeah,
But, there's no right or wrong. You just have to deal with it in your own way. However, on a mental health level, I
okay.
think it's vital that you do deal with it in little pieces,
Yeah, yes,
if you just try not to think about it and try to, get your mind never to think about it again, it's going to seep up and it's going to explode. So if you can do a little bit of grief time, maybe just for an hour a day, allow yourself, it could be your grief time. It could be like 3 o'clock's my grief time or, whenever you have some alone time, but you got to let yourself experience those emotions as painful as they are, because it's the only way to heal. It's
yeah,
like having a wound. If you don't clean out that wound, it's
right.
gonna get really infected.
But
So
sometimes you need the time to yourself, right, in order to do that inner work.
right, right. Now that's the mental health end of it. How about for you on the spiritual psychic level? What do you do to heal?
Well, I think that your soul, like your hard disk, right? It has a limit. And when you know how, like, if you fill your hard disk up too far, the computer runs really slow.
Yeah.
Spiritually, if you take on too much energetically and you're not processing it out, eventually your whole system starts to slow. I mean, everything, that old expression, in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
When you take energy in, and let's say you take it in energetically through your third eye chakra, which is kind of where your ear is, you need to take it in, process it, and throw out what you don't need. The way that your body, you take in food, you process what you need, and the rest gets eliminated. But the problem is with energetic stuff, we often don't ever let it go. It comes in, we don't let it go. And then it fills up and fills up and fills up until our computer starts to slow down. And
Okay, so those who aren't really aware of what that might mean, what does that mean? I take it in energetically. What does that mean?
well, everything that happens to us, we take in energetically. If
Okay.
somebody makes you happy, if somebody makes you sad, if somebody yells at you, if you get in a car accident, if somebody dies, if you feel not so great at work, if you feel great at work, if you fall in love, all of those things are energy that moves into our system because
Mhm.
those are things that we're being exposed to.
Right,
And how
right.
your system is supposed to work is you take in the stuff that you need from an experience. Like, okay, I got in a car accident. It really sucked, but the insurance is going to pay for it. They're going to fix it. I'm going to go to physical therapy for a couple of weeks. I'm not that hurt. Now I've dealt with it and I'm moving on. If you spent your whole life doing nothing but fretting over a car accident that you were in
Yeah,
30 years
yeah,
ago,
yeah.
then your whole body and mind and heart would slow down because you never let anything go.
So
I
that sort of like a reality check and self-talk with yourself?
It is. I mean, yes, that's definitely part of it. And just saying to yourself, okay, I do a thing where when something like that comes up, like like I recently had to file an insurance claim because of Paul dying in the house. And it took a long time to process and it was a lot. But then when it was done, I had to say, okay, it's done. They sent me a check. I can close that chapter. I don't need to
Mm,
fret about that anymore and I can move
okay,
on. And there's
okay.
so many things in our life from day to day, medical things, financial things. When they are over, we need to let them be over because this is life and more things are coming. The problem with a loss, when it's not a loss of, oh, they totaled my car, but it's a loss of a person, is that I think we, on a spiritual level, almost feel guilty about letting them go. Like we think
Yeah.
if we process through it and we move forward, we're somehow doing them a disservice. Like how I didn't want to call my house my house.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
don't want to call your friend dead. So we kind of keep them close to us and we don't process through the hurt. And
Yeah,
somehow we think if we process through the hurt, then they're going to go away. We're going to let them go. But we're not letting them go.
exactly.
We're
I feel guilty sometimes when it's been almost 3 years now since my mom passed, my
Right.
best friend,
Yeah.
and, you know, I try to talk to her all the time, and then there's days where I get really busy and I realize I didn't think of my mom, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "I'm feeling really guilty." I'm like, "Mom, I love you still," but, you know, I just feel so guilty
I
because I don't wanna lose her either. I don't want if she is flying around me or whatever, I don't wanna lose that. So, you know, I get worried if I don't think
yeah.
about her every day.
I feel the same way. I when I moved here, I realized I had a lot of guilt around the fact that all she ever wanted was for me to move back here. And then I didn't do it until after she was dead. And
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, that's not good. So I had to process through that and let it go because I know she doesn't want me to be sad forever. I know that none of our loved ones who pass want us to be sad forever because they're going to go on their own spiritual journey.
Mhm, mhm.
And that doesn't mean they can't check in with us, but they're still on their own path. We're on our own path, and they want us to be on our path, and they want to be on their path, and we'll see you when we see you. So I think that that feeling that we have of I don't want to process this because then it's real. I think for a couple of months after Paul's death, it was hard for me to admit to myself that it was real.
Yeah.
Because I never saw him. It's not like with my mom where I was holding her hand when she died. It was like a police officer went to my house and told me he found him. Um,
Yeah.
and for anybody who's ever been through this, and let me say this, for anybody who's ever been through this, and I have not, and anybody who's ever feared this, I have to say that the Los Angeles Police Department and the Los Angeles Medical Examiner's Office, they were some of the nicest people, and they were all so lovely and so kind. And everybody gave me their phone number. Like, if you need anything, send me a text. If I can help you, give me a
Oh, that's
call.
nice.
And made everything so easy on me. That is, I don't know what I would have done if they had all been awful, but they were all so lovely. So if you fear that someday this might happen to you, know that these wonderful trained professionals are here to make you better, and they will help you, and it won't be a horrible experience.
Yeah.
Um, because I went through it alone in the same way that I went through my mother's death by myself. I mean, when you're an only child, it seems like you go through everything by yourself sometimes. But it was so with the help of my wonderful family and chosen friends that are my family. Um, it you just have to at some point let it go. And honestly, that's why I haven't done his celebration of life yet. Is that I wanted to be in a place where I was going to be okay to do it because I didn't want to be numb and I didn't want to be falling apart.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just now starting to get better.
And
So
that's okay. That's okay.
yeah,
I
you do
did
it.
that with, my mom, I think, passed in December, and we didn't do the celebration of life until the following summer.
Yeah,
And I needed to do that. I was so distraught. I needed 6 months to get on my feet.
yeah, yeah. And I did with my mom too. She died in March, and I did it in November because I was in no shape. And I think sometimes it's good to put a little space there between the
Yeah,
loss and
yeah.
the celebration so that you can really enjoy the celebration after you've processed the loss.
Right.
And also the timing, I threw my mom's I wanted to throw it the weekend of her birthday. So her birthday was November 9th, and I had her celebration of life on the 13th. And the 9th was the day of the 2016 presidential election. And people were very divided. And there were
Oh, wow.
people that refused to come because, oh, I won't come because Democrats are there. I won't come because Republicans are
Oh,
there.
yeah, yeah.
So when somebody dies in the middle of a climate like we're in right now, politically and culturally and sociologically, that also makes it hard because like you said, you're trying to filter everything from the outside world at the same time that you're trying to filter everything that's going on in your own life.
So true.
And it's a lot. And I see that, every night when I leave my best friend's house, I have this little hour trip that I make at night where I drive up and down PCH and look at the water. And it really heals me and cleanses my palate. It helps me to be ready to take clients afterwards. But I've noticed in the way that people drive that people are just not feeling good right now. And a lot of it from a spiritual perspective is there's a lot of planetary stuff going on right now. We're in the middle of a fierce Mercury retrograde. There's all kinds of things going on in the stars and enormous super moons. But aside from that, I think from an earthbound perspective, we're just feeling like we don't all know where we belong in the world. And it's affecting, I'm seeing a lot of accidents. I'm seeing a lot of people fighting in the street, like yelling at each
Yeah.
other. I think it's just a hard time to be a
Oh,
human.
it's unbelievable, you know? And especially, no, regardless of what your political affiliation is,
Sure.
we're seeing people just so angry with each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've never seen the world like this where nobody wants to get along with anybody. It's like everybody it seems like they have an excuse to hate someone.
Yeah.
And and that's just horrible. Because even myself, I mean, I don't want to hate anybody, but even myself have been caught up in negative thinking because I'm feeling that so at such a large scale. And I'm an empath, so I feel everything too.
Me too. Yeah.
And I have to find ways to detach from that because in our own little worlds we have to detach from things that we don't like.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. And
the
that's a hard one for me too. And I'm sure for you too, to detach, because, the last time we had a political climate like this, I was right in it, fighting the good fight, doing radio shows about it. Now I'm like, I don't have it in me to fight that fight right now. I just need to be someplace where I have some peace and try to send love
yeah.
to people, try to help my clients on a one-on-one basis. But I don't have it in me to be this big, huge political voice right now. I'm just,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
don't
I'm,
either. I don't either. I just want to be a light. I want to be an example of goodness.
yeah,
And I don't want to march for anything unless
yeah,
I have to. But I just want to be an example of a good person. And that's
right.
my whole purpose.
I wear my pussy hat at home and think good thoughts.
Don't go there because I know we're going to go into those crystals, and I don't want to go there.
No, no, I don't sit on crystals right now. I, maybe later.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a whole nother
I'm too tired
episode.
to even sit on a crystal today. Um, yeah, you
Sorry,
have to
folks, if you didn't hear that episode,
go
it was
back and check it out.
hysterical. But
You,
we'll move
I
on.
I think that the number one thing of dealing with loss is you have to tell yourself it's okay to do what you need to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's okay. Give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to grieve the way you need to grieve. And I know people who don't want to grieve at all. They don't want to look at pictures of their loved one.
Sure,
Uh, it's
sure,
just too
your choice.
painful.
Yeah,
And I used to think that too. It's like I did all these videos with my mother, and people are wanting to see them, and it's like, oh God, I got to watch them.
yeah,
But at the same time, watching them over and over sort of desensitized me from the grief and
that's
made
good.
me remember a good memory of my mother,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So I'm not completely there. I can't say I'm perfect at that, but uh, it helps. It helps because I'm doing a little at a time, a
I
little at a
don't
time.
know, and I know our first show was about this. I don't know when you lose your mother if it ever dies down. I mean, I think you can
Yeah.
be so happy and thrive and soar, but I don't know if you're ever the same after your mother dies, especially when she was your best friend.
Yeah, I
I
know.
think there's always a part of you that feels that she is missing. And with best friends too. I mean, I guess I'm very fortunate that I didn't lose a lot of people in my life when I was young. A lot of people lost a lot of people in their lives when they were young, a lot of friends. Um, my friends, I guess, were all just too stubborn to die. And it's weird because you do still have that visceral connection with them.
Yeah.
But and another thing that happened, I guess I'm going to be really honest about everything today, Diane. Um, when Paul died, there were people in his life that were very not great, and and it all kind of fell on me because I was the one taking care of everything for him, and I just couldn't believe that somebody was dead and people were fighting and being angry and yelling. And honestly, Diane, most of it was about money. Paul, had 3.5 cents. He had fallen on some hard financial times, which is why he was living with me, why he was staying at my house. And all of these other people who, where were they when he needed a place to stay? They all suddenly acted like I was sitting on $1 million that was stuck somewhere in my toilet tank. And it became this sort of rat's nest of like what you deal with when someone dies
Yeah.
about money, with somebody that didn't have any money, and that most everything he had was in hawk, in a pawn shop somewhere. Not, oh my God, how sad that this is where his life was at, or hey, thanks for picking him up out of his car and putting him in your house so he had a safe place to stay. But it suddenly became this weird thing, and this weird thing with women who I think are so terrible to each other, this competitive thing. And I just don't understand why, when someone dies and we're all hurting, we're not all grieving together. Why are we
Hmm.
fighting each
Hmm.
other? Who gives a shit if you get, a pair of underwear he wore in 1984? There is no money. So why are you acting like that? And why are you looking for somebody to blame? And why are you blaming the person that took him in when, you know what I mean?
Oh, I do know what you mean.
Um, I
It's strange when somebody passes
see the
very
worst, right?
close to you
Yeah.
and you're involved in taking care of things. It's I'm not going to reveal any names, but it's really, really strange how people come out of the woodwork and
Yeah.
give you a hard time. And I don't know
Yeah.
what that's about. I don't know why that happens, because I was expecting compassion from
I
everybody.
was
And
too.
and
I thought we were all going to cry
that's
together
how
and be
I
a
am. I
family.
mean, I would offer that, but
Yep.
when I get something different back, uh it just floors me. It
Yeah.
floors me. I'm still not over it. I'm still not over some things that I didn't understand. Why did that happen with this person or that person? And how could they act like that when,
Yeah.
you know, the thing that means the most to me in the whole world
Yeah.
just left me.
And
It
I think for me it was that was the final straw that made me just sort of go whoop and pull in on myself, because I thought, you know what, for the first time in my life, I didn't like people. And that's not good for what I do for a living. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
good for what
I
I
know
do in my
exactly what
ministry.
you're talking about.
I'm like, I have to like people, but right now all I can think of is I don't like people, because I can't believe that I'm dealing with this. And I just, and then there was an incident where, I can't believe I'm saying this on the air. There was an incident where I saw somebody's Facebook post came up in my stream, in my feed, and they were on Facebook saying stuff. And I'm like, where were you all when he needed a place to live? And it sort of changed how I felt about humanity.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do shows anymore, and I didn't want to interact with people. And it took me a couple of months of being with my family, which my two best friends and their families, um, to really sort of thaw out and come back to life. And this is sort of me coming back in August. I mean,
Yeah.
Paul died the beginning of January, saying, "Okay, now I've gotten over it, and I'm willing to give people another try." And I'm
Yeah.
go out there and fight for people again.
Well, that's me too. I mean, as pissed off and floored as I was, I realized that that's only hurting me. So I had to detach from that to the best of my ability and
Yes.
realize people are just people. And, I wouldn't respond that way, but, you know,
Haters gonna hate.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't judge someone else because I don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah.
You know, eh,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making any sense here,
Yeah.
but the point is that nobody is going to respond the way to anything. I'm looking at people and I'm watching them how they're responding to what's going on in the world right now, and
Yeah.
some of it just oh
I know. It's
just pushes
unbelievable.
my buttons.
Yeah.
But I have to step back and I have to say, look, this is them, this is me. All I got to do is worry about what I think.
Yeah.
and how I would deal with these things. And
Yeah.
that's what's important. What do I do? What do I present to the world? Who am I, and what colors do I show? And we can't worry about how everybody else does it. That is a hard lesson, let me tell you. That is a hard one.
Yeah. 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 It's
It's the art of detachment, don't you think?
yeah, you have to. And I always say this when I give spiritual talks, that human beings, we're like special toddlers, you know. You look at an alligator, it's been around for tens of thousands of years more. And what does an alligator do? It lays in the water and naps until it either wants to, well, basically fuck you or eat you. That's all it does. It's figured it out. Human beings, we're not that old. Like, we're still like in our crazy diaper phase. We're still in the, I'm gonna throw the cake across the room because I didn't get what I wanted for my birthday. We're very young, and we act very young. I think
Yeah.
sometimes other animals must look at us like, what in the hell? It's funny because I've been watching these. I don't really watch Colbert, but I've been watching these Colbert questionnaires keep coming up on my YouTube, where he asks these celebrities these questions. And one of the questions always is, what is the most dangerous animal? And I always think, like, why isn't everybody saying people? Because it's people. We're the most dangerous animal. So I think when you're a people and you're an empath and you're taking in everybody's stuff and you're having to learn how to deal with other people, it's hard. And it's okay sometimes just to put yourself on mute and say, I need a minute. I need a minute to figure out how to deal with people.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back.
Well, and also, regardless of what somebody's behavior is, that is their path. That is not for us. Yeah, and I know this is from a spiritual sense. Can you hear the the garbage people going by? If it is, I have to
No,
close the
that's
window.
fantastic.
Okay. It's really loud here, and I'm like, oh my God, it's going on
Live,
the air.
people. It's how you know it's live.
But, see, a garbage truck, trash in our life. Got to get rid of it and not worry about it. I lost my train of thought. Hang on. Okay, go ahead, Sheena, for a second. I lost.
Yeah. I mean, I think we take in a lot every day, and you go on social media, and social media is a lot of people's grieving. I mean, how many times do you put prayers up for a dead loved one or a dead pet on Facebook every single day? It's a lot. And I think sometimes we don't really give ourselves credit for all that we're dealing with every day in normal circumstances. Then on top of that, you add the climate of the world right now. You add what's going on in our own lives, different tragedies, problems, health things. It's so much. And sometimes you just need to go get an ice cream and give yourself a break.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Sometimes you just need to listen to the silence
Yes. Just listen to
and not the garbage truck driving by.
Yes. Just listen to the side. Yeah. So important. Yeah. And
yeah, I mean, we got to focus, like I was bringing up earlier. I mean, we have to focus on our own path and why we're here.
Yeah.
Because we're going to feel really angry at those that we disagree with and that are doing something that is totally, we would consider out of character for us.
Yes.
And, there's some things happening that God, just really push my buttons. And I have to say, this is not my path. This is their path. I have to keep telling myself, because we all come here, and I'm sure you can talk a lot about this. We all come here for a reason. We all come here to learn something, and hopefully we learn it and we evolve and go to the next stage, whatever that is. I don't know what everybody believes in, but we need to evolve as a species, as a person, as a whatever. And that means we have to do things that are good and kind and compassionate. And when you and I don't see that, we see others angry, vicious, resentful and wanting to get even. It hurts. It hurts our souls, doesn't it?
It hurts. Yeah. And it's funny. In the past, I might have felt some of that stuff. I mean, you're a Scorpio and I'm a Scorpio's kid, but I just this time I just felt nothing. I just feel it's the
Mhm.
numbness, and I think sometimes the numbness is even scarier.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
gosh, yeah. But
um,
that's still part of grief, because I
it is
was
part
numb
of
for a
grief,
long
and,
time.
and grief isn't just when someone dies. Grief can be a breakup. It can. I went through one of those this year too. It can be just realizing how somebody has treated you and having to detox from them.
Yes.
That is also a kind of grief. It's a kind of loss. Sometimes you just put boundaries up in your life, emotionally and spiritually, and all the people that shouldn't be in your life just fall out. I see that
Yep.
with my clients a lot. They get to a point, we get to the point where they're really loving and respecting themselves.
Yeah.
And then, did you like seeing my big hand? Hi. People are secretly doing palmistry on me at home. Um, you get to a point where I teach them to set boundaries and to get to a better level of spiritual involvement and health. And then they're like, why do these 10 people leave my life? And I'm like, oh honey, that was God doing you a service, because really those people
Yeah.
need to go. And I think I have found that in my own life, that this was a year, because I was dealing with so much loss, that I had to put boundaries up. And whoops, who dropped out? I mean, it
Yeah.
it happens. And
Yeah.
but then one nice thing about the numbness is they drop out, you don't even care. Um, but then after somebody leaves your life that's very toxic, then you go through the process of dealing with what the toxicity really was and what you were really put through. Because when we're in the middle of it, we don't. It's like when you're taking care of somebody, like you and I both took care of our moms. When you're actually in it and you're taking care of them, you're almost numb from how tragic it is,
Mhm.
because you have to get up every day and change the diaper, give the shots, and cook the food, whatever. It's after they pass that you realize how horrible
Oh,
it is.
gosh, yes.
It's
What a
just
trip.
now that I've started to think, holy shit, police officers went in my house and Paul was dead in my office. Like, I didn't even have the bandwidth to even think about that until just recently. And I think it's the same thing for people who left your life and didn't die. It's the same thing. You have to go back and say, I allowed myself to be abused like that by another human being.
Yeah.
And you have to really forgive yourself, because it's not your fault that somebody else abused you, in the same way that it's not my fault that Paul died. Um, I think empathic people, we always blame ourselves first, right? Um, and there are things that just aren't your fault and they're beyond your control. And all
Yeah.
you can do is process through it, and then find a way to still love yourself on the other end.
That's
And
right. Right.
that's a journey I have been on in the last 12 months. And I think that's why we were talking earlier before the show about how I've been losing like 20 pounds about every 3 months, and not even really sweating it off. It's just sort of organically happening. And I think it's that as I'm letting things go, weight is coming off.
Hmm.
When
Interesting.
you let things go, then your body lets go too, because your solar plexus chakra, and that's where a lot of empaths like me get our big tummy, right? Your solar
Yes.
plexus chakra holds all that stuff, and it's of course right where your solar plexus is, in your stomach. And if you never let anything go, then nothing physically releases either, because our spiritual immune system and our emotional immune system and our physiological immune system are so tied together
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
one is in crisis, the others are in crisis. And I think that's really what's happening, is that as I'm processing out of some of the stuff that was very abusive, um, this weight is just coming off. And that's obviously not Paul, because he just died. He was my
Yeah.
buddy. He was
Yeah.
a good man. But I've gone through this sort of, Paul was my songwriting partner for 30 years. And when he died, I thought, well, that's the end of my music career. And it's just in the last couple of months that I've been thinking about finding someone else to write with. And maybe it isn't all dead. It's shocking when somebody that has been such a big part of your life dies, because you're not sure how to fill all those spaces in your life.
Yeah. I know I had a very dear friend pass away. But what was unfortunate for this is it didn't have to happen. It was suicide.
Yeah.
And so that even puts another layer on top of it. Not only do you have to get over the loss, but then you have to get over the why.
Yes. Yes.
Why? But,
Yeah.
I understand that. And I've been depressed before, so I understand that you can get so deep that you just want to get out of the pain.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you got to realize that it will pass and there are people to help you there.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's a whole nother subject. I'm going
Yeah.
off on it, but
No. Yes. And Paul did not kill himself. I will say
yeah,
that. People have asked me.
yeah.
He did not. But he did have depression, and there were times when he wanted to. And I dealt with that my whole life. Paul was my ex-boyfriend, and we started dating when I was 24 and he was 23. So I was his primary person because his family was not in town all that time through all that bad depression. But he had kind of come out of it and was in a place where he was feeling really kind of good in his life. And he loved being back in my home where he had lived with me when we were kids. And he was taking really good care of it and fixing it up.
Yeah.
And he was really happy, and he was writing songs, and he was writing poems, and he was writing short stories. And I guess when it's just your time, it's your time.
Yeah.
But so I think you still ask the whys of the universe, right? But the suicide is a whole nother ball game.
Oh yeah, that's even another layer. Yeah.
I think we ask why when it's our parents, even though they're in their 80s or your mom was in her 90s. I think you're still like, why couldn't
I
you?
know. I am. I'm like both my parents went in their 90s, and I'm like, why did this have to happen?
Yeah,
But
why? Why in the 90s?
why? They could have lived to 110.
Yes, exactly. I always thought my mom would. We had this joke that she was going to live to be 110. That's what she would always say. And I was going to get one of those, those things they put kids in. It's like it's like a backpack on the front, and I was going to carry
I put my
her
dog
around
in it.
that. Yeah, and I was going to put mom in there because I figured by that time she would have shriveled up to being about that size, and I was going to carry her around, and we were going to laugh about everything. So when she died, she was only 82. I was so shocked. I was like, what about the other, 30 years of the backpack? When is that going to happen? But you never know. One of the last things Paul said to me was, I'm Irish. Nothing's going to kill me. I'm invincible. I can't die. And then he died. Isn't that weird? But I'll tell you a really weird thing that I can't believe I'm sharing. Do you want to hear this story?
Yeah.
So when we were together, Paul he had some stuff, and he was very disconnected emotionally from things in a romantic way, not as a friend. But he didn't like to have long emotional discussions about our relationship ever. So we broke up in 2002. We were together 10 years. And 2 weeks before he died, we were on the phone because he was my late night friend. All my friends go to bed. He was my friend I talked to after my clients at 2 a.m. And all of a sudden, he brought up our relationship, which he probably hadn't in, I don't know, 20 years. And he wanted to go over everything, like everything I was feeling and everything he was feeling and what I thought was going on and what was really this whole long thing. And then 2 weeks later, he died. Don't you think that's kind of strange?
Wow, that is odd.
It's
really odd.
almost like he was, who knows how many other conversations with other people he had like that.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like he wanted to wrap everything up and get closure. But he had no idea he was going to die. So it's interesting. Maybe it was almost like the universe prompting him because they knew he was going to pass. Like, you better go figure it out with everybody.
Yeah, whether they know it or not, there's the rally.
Yeah.
And that was like my mom too. She wasn't herself in the end. And 3 days before she passed, she was absolutely cognizant, coherent, talked to me and shared everything she felt about me. And it was the most bizarre thing because 24 hours prior to that, she was not knowing who I was and, probably and so forth. And then she went back to that state and became unconscious. But wow, that rally, whether they know they're going or not, it happens because sometimes these souls need to share what they feel and tell you something before they go. You know, my dad told me on his deathbed, his last words were, "I love you so much." And my father never told me he loved me. His last final words were that. I mean, that was
so beautiful for you because you
extraordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom
Extraordinary.
said, I don't care what you have to do, just get me out of here.
My mom
Because she
was telling me too to get, you know,
was
when she
ready to
went,
go. Yeah, just get me
she
out of here.
wasn't, she went out, you know, she was practically unconscious, and she's like, "Get me out of this car." And I'm like, "Get me out of this car." I don't know what that meant, but
No,
she
there's
thought
the
she was in
whole
a car.
thing. So one of my best friends is a nurse, and she's for a long time wanted to go into hospice work. And there's an author who's very famous in the community who was a nurse or is a nurse and specialized in hospice. And he wrote a book about the period where people are passing.
Mhm.
And one of the things in it is people see themselves in cars. My dad did that too.
Really?
He'd almost died from low blood pressure, and they moved him from the nursing home to the ICU. And we walked in, and he said, like, how are you? And he's like, I'm not that great. I'm stuck in this cab in New York, and it's just not moving. Like, what's a guy got to do to get a cab to move?
Wow.
And so I guess it's a whole thing where they see themselves in cars or boats or trains or planes, or because there's something that our earthbound mind
Is it
equates with travel.
with
Like you could,
moving? Yeah,
right,
with
you couldn't
moving
go to heaven
forward.
unless you got in a car or a plane, right? That's how you get there. You get, because as humans,
Wow.
we think of travel as we get in an object and we move. So when you're passing, you think of the transition to the other world, to what I like to call home. That you have to be in a vehicle to do that. Isn't that easy? Because I told my
Yeah,
good friend that.
maybe the souls are picked up in some kind of automobile. You know, I'm getting a limo.
Maybe a big bus comes, like, the Albert Brooks movie Defending Your Life, where they all went on the giant bus. Maybe a big bus comes. I
Okay,
don't know.
maybe I'll get a jet ski instead.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's wild. I'm gonna have to get that author and find out.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? This idea of the cabs,
That's crazy.
and it's oftentimes
Crazy.
cabs. I think because you feel like the driving is out of your control.
Probably interesting. Very
Yeah,
interesting.
it's an interesting thing. Yeah, my dad too. He was very incoherent. My mom was coherent the whole time, but my dad was very incoherent. And then, he had brain cancer, so he almost was nonverbal. He could say his name, but mostly he just went like,
Yeah.
and then I was visiting him the last time I saw him, and he was doing that. And he didn't know who I was or my mom or anybody after the surgery. He knew who nobody was. He kind of knew who he was. They took out a quarter of his left frontal lobe. And then all of a sudden he was then he said, "Let me ask you something." I was like, okay. And he said, this is so interesting. So my father was a lapsed Catholic. He was an atheist, very about machines and science, not about anything that was spiritual or emotional.
Yeah.
And he said, there are these black things with wings, and they keep following me around. And they tell me that when I die, I have to go with them. But there are these other things. They're sort of white, but they're sort of blue. And they look like they'd be hot if you touch them, but they're not. And they keep telling me I don't have to listen to the black things with wings. I can go with them if I want to, and I have a choice. So what the hell am I supposed to do?
He said this all at the end?
And then I looked at him, and then he went back to num 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 num. Like,
Wow.
okay.
That's crazy.
So clearly he was having some kind of battle
Yeah.
between the light and the dark,
Wow.
and he needed a little advice. As
That's
I came home,
crazy.
told my mom, she was like, "Did he kill somebody and we don't know?" And I said at the time, maybe the true test of what your life is like after this life
Wow.
isn't did you kill someone? Maybe it's just, were you selfish? Or did
Yeah.
you do anything for yourself, for anybody else? Because my dad was a pretty selfish person. Like, he didn't really do anything for anybody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what makes the black things with the wings think you're going with them. But it
I
wasn't
don't know.
anything that
That's
would have.
wild.
Now you can say the taxi cab in New York. My dad was from Queens. That could have come with a reference of something that was from his past.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
having no spirituality at all, where he would get that, or the idea, because, you know, when people talk in the spiritual community about angels, they sometimes refer to them as being a bluish color.
Oh, wow.
And they sometimes refer to them as looking glowing and looking like they're hot. So the fact that he said that, and he had no reference for that, I just thought that was so, and it's so
Yeah, and you wonder if someone's whispering in their ear to say, "Hey, tell your daughter, you know, you love her." Because with my
Yeah.
father, he couldn't speak. He was coherent, but he couldn't speak because he had pneumonia in both lungs. So he kept trying to tell me something, and then he was able to speak those last words, "I love you so much." And I thought, "Wow,
Yeah.
is that bizarre?"
Yeah. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally bizarre.
Anyway, you
You're
know,
wonderful, and I'm glad we're back doing this. And let's try to
I'm
do it
glad we're
fun.
back too, Sheena.
That
I'm
would make
glad
me
you're
so
back.
happy. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm coming back to life. I'm
Coming
thawing
back.
out. Where can people find you so they can get to know more about you? Because you're so wonderful.
You can find me at diankatz.com or Dian Katz Band on Facebook, or, you know, at the local pub. No, I'm just kidding.
Can we find you at the local pub? Because I'll go
No,
there
you
and
can't.
look for
I'm not a big drinker, so
Yeah, I don't,
you won't
I don't
find
even
me
know
at the
what a
local
drink
pub.
is. Never had one. I'm that weirdo. Never had a drink. So strange I am. It's so great being here. If you want to find us online, sidebysideshow.com, and that will take you to our wonderful Facebook page, facebook.com/sidebysideshow. It kind of sounds like we're standing next to a sideshow, side by side show. I'm the sideshow. Diane's the side, and I'm the sideshow, definitely. Also, I'm at sheenametalspiritual.com. Please go there and learn more about me, and everywhere on social media at Sheena Metal. And we love you guys so much, and we can't wait to come back and do this. Remember, every week on the show, we use two different perspectives. For me, spirituality. For Diane, psychology. To sort of chew up a topic. This week, loss. And we believe everything can lead to help and healing if you're working side by side.
That's
We love you,
right.
and we'll see you next time. Namaste.
Say you have a problem, think it might be all in your head. Talk with a counselor or maybe a psychic instead. Doesn't matter how you roll when life has taken such a toll. Clenching fist along with your screams. I'm here to heal your mind and we are here to heal your soul. Time to follow your dreams. Side by side, side by side, by side, side 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 by side.